I don't know if anything Luka does can still surprise you, but there's a little bit of Luka magic there.
Yeah, that was impressive. And, Rachel, you got to realize all the foreigners all play soccer from Akeem Olajuwon. That's why their footwork is so good. But that was impressive.
Yeah, nice footwork, but what about that shot, Perk? That's a 1 in 50 shot. From that angle, forget about the footwork. Holy Moses.
He's like, Steph Curry shoots from the tunnel. Whatever. Look what I can do. There you go. Welcome to The Jump, friends. I'm Rachel Nichols, joined by my day one NBA insider, host of the Hoop Collective podcast, Brian Windhorst, live from the Thunderdome. And we also have NBA champ, graduate of Cash University, Mr. Kendrick Perkins. Coming up, guys, we're going to talk to Ben Simmons. I sat down with the Sixers All-Star to discuss his Defensive Player of the Year chances. Hint, he thinks they're very good. Also, what Doc Rivers has meant to Philly this season and how Philly stacks up with the Nets. But we begin today. Some very unfortunate news. Jamal Murray, it is a torn ACL in his left knee. We were all fearful that was going to be the diagnosis, and in fact, he will be out for the rest of the regular season, probably into next year's All-Star break, maybe. Here was the reaction from his teammates last night.
What are your thoughts on tonight's defense?
My thoughts are on Jamal Murray right now. Thank you. And everybody know, Jamal, is a huge, huge piece to this team, alongside Nikola. Averaging, a bunch load of points and just his leadership out there, he does everything. So, seeing him go down like that, never nothing, that you can even think that was going to happen. He lifts so much, his body's strong. So it's something, man, that, it's a touchy subject. I don't even like really speaking about injuries.
I mean, y'all know what he means to us. He's the dude, you know what I'm saying? Nikola and Jamal. They've been here, they've brought this team to new heights. You talk about their closing all the time. Like, we need Jamal, and we all know that. And we're just, like I said, but we're more worried about his well-being right now. How he is individually than we are worried about the team. So, the team right now is an afterthought. We're just worried about Jamal.
All right, so Perk, this is just devastating for Jamal Murray. First of all, our thoughts are with him. That is a tough injury to come back from, as you know. But also, what does this mean for the Denver Nuggets? Because, boy, it looked like they had so many of the pieces you need to win a championship this season.
Absolutely. I mean, with the addition of Aaron Gordon and getting JaVale McGee at the trade deadline, Denver wouldn't have surprised me if they would have came out of the West. But here it is. Now with Jamal Murray being out, Rachel and Brian, to be honest, it's a first-round exit. They're going to make the playoffs, but they're not getting past the first round. You need that dynamic duo, that Batman and Robin, especially in the Western Conference, to compete with all the duos they have in the West. So I hope Jamal Murray have a speedy recovery. He'll bounce back from it. I did in 6 months. He's way smaller and lighter than me. He'll be back to the Jamal Murray that we've grown to love.
Rachel, you used the word devastating. That's the word. We throw that word around a lot. In this case, it is not only for Jamal and his career, but also for this team, which was absolutely taking off. The transformation that this team has made since the Aaron Gordon trade reminded me in 2004 of what happened to the Detroit Pistons after they traded for Rasheed Wallace. It's not that Aaron Gordon is Rasheed Wallace, but the way he solidified everybody's role, they were taking off. I mean, really, I could see them making a run at the championship the way they were playing the last couple of weeks. And Monty Morris is a terrific player, and he's one of the best backup point guards in the league. But what you can't replace is a guy who, in a 50-50 situation, fourth quarter, game 5, 2-2, who can carry you home. And I know that Nikola Jokic has that ability, but we saw in the playoffs last year that Murray was a special player, a difference-making player. You can't replace that in the playoffs. And if you look at the odds that the casinos have done today, yesterday the Nuggets were 10 or 12 to 1 in places. Right now they're 100 to 1. And I don't want to reduce it to a number, but that right there says what this injury means to their chances.
Well, it's a good reminder, right, of how many things have to go right for a team to win a championship, how much luck is absolutely involved, and no one likes to talk about that because they think that somehow that eliminates all the hard work that's involved. It's not just luck, but you absolutely need good health luck to win a title. And this team had done everything right. the way they had drafted, the way they had held on to their assets when they decided to push the button and use some of those assets, as you say, for Aaron Gordon. They have built it all the right way. And to see this happen just reminds you how fragile all of this is. And when you go forward, some of these guys, now the window is changing, right? Because Jamal Murray comes back again, let's say after the All-Star break or maybe even a little later next year. He's going to need time to ramp back up. Well, you've got guys on this team whose contracts are going to be up by then. You've got guys on this team whose contracts are up this summer. Key rotation players I'm talking about. Guys even like Michael Porter Jr. the next year are going to have to make a decision on his extension, things like that. And the Nuggets just aren't going to know what they have until Jamal is not only able to come back, but play a bit. That puts the organization in such a tough position. In the short term, obviously, this is going to affect them. And with the Lakers breathing down their heels in the standings, I definitely think that we might see them pick up a guy like maybe Austin Rivers, Brian. I'm not really sure who they're going to add there to the roster, but it is a deep, deep loss. And it stinks. Injuries stink. They stink. Yes. Just saying. Let's have some happy news out of that same game last night, okay? Steph Curry, let's switch to that. Needed 19 points to pass Wilt Chamberlain for the all-time scoring record. Well, he went ahead and dropped 53 just to make sure the record was secure. Brian, what do you think the significance of that is?
Well, he's the greatest warrior. I mean, with all due respect to Wilt and everybody else, he's the greatest warrior. Al Adels, he's the face of the franchise. He'll be the face of the franchise for decades into the future. I didn't need this record to know that, but it was a good opportunity to honor Steph, which I don't think you can do enough.
I agree. And when we start praising walking memorials like we do LeBron James and saying we're going to miss him when he's gone, we're going to miss Steph Curry when he walks away from the game of basketball. And by the way, when he do decide to walk away, he will be in that top 10 list of greatest of all time, in my opinion, because he changed the game of basketball at the point guard position.
Brian, are you putting him in your top 10 all time?
Yeah, I have, and I've gotten criticized for it. And I don't know. Do I want to fight 12, 14, 13 and a half? The guy's got 2 MVPs, 3 titles, and changed the game. Hats off to Steph Curry. I hope you do it for another 5 or 10 years. And
a Hall of Fame person as well. I mean, the attention was, of course, on last night, him passing Wilt. But the game before, when the Warriors had as their in-game announcer Aaron Taylor, who had, of course, served a term at San Quentin, has been really rehabilitated, involved in so many things, and just a great, great guy, able to really make an impact on the community. He was at the Warriors game, and Steph was so tremendous to him. It just showed what a Hall of Fame person he is, and he's shown that over and over and over again with the Warriors. It's impressive in a way that I think you're right, Perk. We don't fully appreciate it, but we're going to miss it, and let's all notice it a little more while he's here. Before we go to break, we do want to update you on the latest from Minnesota. The Timberwolves will play the Nets at 4 o'clock Eastern today. That is, of course, the rescheduled game from last night. It will be without fans. Look, the postponement came following the police shooting of Dante Wright, and Timberwolves President of Basketball Operations, Gerson Rosas, spoke about that today. Just what the players are facing, the decision to play the game today. Take a listen. The Jump will be right back after this.
These guys are going through a lot, and you have to be up at 8 a.m. not knowing if we're going to play today, getting a heads up at 10 a.m. that we're going, preparing.
Back behind him,
little OBJ
with one hand and dunks it. The athleticism on this play is crazy.
Woo.
Wow.
He's starting to get one of these every other game, though.
He says he's got his own airline. By the way, guys, we are introducing a new feature on this show. Oh, yes. It is the Wall of Dunk. It is a tribute to the cool posters from the 90s. Miles Bridges inspired the idea in yesterday's show. Today, we welcome Ja to the wall. Welcome, Ja. You guys know you had some great posters up on your bedroom wall. I did. And, we got to bring them back. We're bringing them back here at the Jump. All I'm saying. Miss Freddy Krueger. Check out the footwork from Joel Embiid. Here's that dream shake, Perk.
Ooh, yes. I mean, a 275-pound Akeem Olajuwon. Look how light he is. He moves so gracefully, Rachel. I mean, he's just a joy to watch. Look, Akeem was just a lot slimmer, that's all. Same footwork, same mannerisms. Joel Embiid is a problem.
We were talking earlier on the show,
but did you hear
right?
what he said after the game?
What did he say, Brian?
After the game, he said he learned that from watching Perk.
Well, I was going to say that we talked at the top of this show about Luka Doncic and his soccer moves. Of course, that is the base for Joel Embiid and Hakeem Olajuwon. That footwork, man, does not fail. So impressive. Make, miss, direction. Wizards Jazz. Watch the crossover and step back from Spider Mitchell.
Oh.
Brian, I think Ish Smith has a little arachnophobia.
You know how they say it, Rachel. That's too much sauce.
Too much sauce.
You know, he got fooled by the pick. The pick was coming. He thought he was going one way. He rejected the pick, and poor Ish paid the price of the rejected pick. He just got fooled.
People should like spiders, by the way. They eat bugs. They keep your anyway. Okay, and Spider-Man, fantastic to have on. These are all good things about spiders. I'm just saying. Miss rejections, King's Pels, wide open lane. Gee, I wonder what Zion Williamson is going to do. Brian, so we're doing this whole poster thing, but we don't know when Zion's going to get his first great NBA poster because it feels like most people just kind of get out of his way, right?
They better get out of his way. When you see this freight train coming, look, it's three things that's going to happen. One, you're going to get put on the poster. Two, you're going to get put on the poster. Or three, you're going to get your hand or wrist broken. It was just like Shaq when he was attacking the basket. Just move out the way. Save yourself the embarrassment and explain to coach later in the film session and ask him what you would have gotten away.
Good question.
You don't have to explain to the coach. He knows.
Let's move on. Finishing touches back to Salt Lake. Russell Westbrook hitting the dagger. This completed the upset for the Wizards. He, of course, had a triple-double because that is what Russell Westbrook does, people. The Wizards are 2-0 versus the Jazz this season. Perk, how do you explain that? They actually have a pretty good record against a lot of really good teams, but not so much against so many of the other teams.
Well, Rachel, can we talk about Russell Westbrook about to average a triple-double for the fourth time in his career? But look, one game that Russell Westbrook is going to circle on this calendar, that's the game against the Utah Jazz, especially in Utah.
In Utah, yep.
Yep.
This broke a 24-game home winning streak for the Jazz. He sent a lot of Jazz fans home sad, so I'm sure he enjoyed that.
Yes.
Rachel, Brian, by the way, the Wizards are only 2 games out of the play-in tournament, by the way.
And in Washington, and I can tell you this because it is the city and place where I am from, that is a big deal, gentlemen. I know other teams dream of winning championships. They're gonna be excited about that. Yes, they are. Not everyone, of course, is excited about the play, and we will get to that in just a second because we're getting to the big game in Dallas last night between the Sixers and Mavericks. Sixers won big. Luka led Dallas with 32 points in 33 minutes, though. It was the Mavs' third loss in 4 games. They sit in the 7th spot in the West, which is indeed play-in territory. And Luka was asked after the game about trying to get to that 6 seed to stay out of the play-in. Well, here's what he said.
I don't understand the idea of playing. You play 72 games to get in the playoffs, and then maybe you lose 2 in a row and you're out of the playoffs. So I don't see the point of that. But we're just trying here to get to the 6th spot, and I think that's our goal right now.
So Luka said that, and then team owner Mark Cuban said this. Here's what he told our Tim McMahon, quote, "I get why the NBA is doing it, but if we are going to be creative because of COVID, we should just go straight up 1 through 20 and let the bottom 4 play in. The worst part of this approach is that it doubles the stress of the compressed schedule. Teams have to approach every game as a playoff game to either get into or stay in the top 6 since the consequences, as Luka said, are enormous. So players are playing more games and more minutes in fewer days. In hindsight, this approach was an enormous mistake." Now, Brian, I am glad he added the in hindsight because he is one of the people who voted for this play-in system as a member of the Board of Governors. Where do you fall, Brian, in the play-in concept, and what do you think of Mark's comments?
Well, I don't think we can evaluate the success or failure of the play-in concept until after we see it play itself out. I mean, we could actually get some terrific single elimination, double elimination situations. As you mentioned a second ago, the fans in Washington are engaged. And while Cuban and Luka make good points, I guess, their credibility is harmed by the fact that they're in 7th right now.
Right.
And are the team that faces being penalized. If they were in 10th, I don't know if they would say the same thing. I will say this, though. the compressed nature of the second half of this schedule, which was not on the boards when they put together the play-in tournament, and the COVID situations that caused a bunch of teams to have to play a lot of games in the second half, we didn't necessarily understand that. So that is a fair criticism, but I also think we have to see how it totally plays out before we can judge it.
Well, look, if Mark Cuban and Luka is going to be doing all this crying and whining, what are the babies in the world going to be doing? Okay, you got to leave some room for them. All right, because look, it's no fun when the rabbit got the gun. And one word comes to mind when I think about what their comments what they said last night was their comments: accountability. Don't take the regular season for granted. Get wins so you don't have to be in the play-in tournament. Take every game serious, night in and night out. Go out there and do your job and finish in that top 6 seed in your conference. And you don't have to worry about doing the play-in. I love the play-in tournament because when I was playing, sometimes teams tend to lack and sometimes games get boring, especially at the end of the season. Guys start resting and it's not fun. Now it holds you accountable because every game matters, and the regular season matters even more now. So I'm with the play-in tournament.
I just think it's interesting to really look at Mark's comments because some of them, the answer is yes, Mark, that was the idea, to make every game count toward the end of the season, to keep players from resting and skipping games, especially when there are now finally ticket-buying fans in the buildings. We look at the actual number of game increases this has all caused, and Brian, you're right, it's taken a jump in the second half of the season. Here are the numbers. Tim McMahon had this in his story today. Last season, they averaged 3.42 games a week. This season, they're averaging 3.6 games a week if you just put the whole season together. And then if you just look at post-All-Star, they're averaging 3.75 games a week. So it is a jump. It's not a jump of like 2 extra games a week, but it is absolutely a jump. And there's no question, by the way, we have seen a spate of soft tissue injuries. I think Jamal Murray's ACL tear was the 5th or 6th that we've seen in this short season. Is that a result of the condensed schedule? I have no idea. There is no way for anybody to know. It is why I think you are seeing teams like the Nets and the Lakers be very conservative with guys like Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, how long they keep them out because they know this condensed schedule is such a grind. It will be interesting to see where the Mavs actually fall in all of this. The last thing I would just say, though, to Mark's idea of, hey, let's just do 1 through 20 and the last 4 are the ones who should be in the play-in tournament. Again, that is not going to happen because the Eastern Conference owners do not want to give up some of their guaranteed play-in spots that you would get by going 1 through 16 in the final playoff bracket. So not going to happen, my friend, but it is interesting to see how this plays out. Coming up after
the most, though.
Most of all. Thank you. And thank you so much for being here. I want to revisit last season for people at home because the Seattle Storm, of course, won the 2020 title in the Wubble after sweeping the Aces in the finals. Brianna Stewart won WNBA MVP, sitting out the previous season, of course, with that torn Achilles, finals MVP. The Storm opened the season with a set of finals rematches against the Aces. They also face your Sparks on the 4th of July, so that should be fun. Janae, Caesar William Hill is listing the Storm as favorites entering the season. So who do you think, LA maybe, are the biggest threats to their repeat chances?
Look, I am just seeing the schedule for the first time myself, and this is so amazing. Obviously, I'm going to say the Los Angeles Sparks. I believe in myself, my sister Erica Wheeler, and the company Amanda Zawibi. But I do think some real big threats. Las Vegas Aces, you have to start there. Asia Wilson coming off of an MVP season, and then you're bringing back Liz Cambage, who was just straight up a bucket. On top of that, Dearica Hamby, a 6th Woman of the Year. Kelsey Plum back from injury, so the Las Vegas Aces probably, I think a lot of people would say, are the favorites too overall. Outside of Vegas, I've got to go to Chicago. Now, one of the biggest things that happened this offseason, big sis from another miss, Candace Parker, heads home to Chicago. Which, as someone, as someone who has had to make that decision myself for a balance in life, I'm just really glad that she's going to continue her career. And, being with Chicago and the Skies, I mean, this is a really good team. Diamond DeShields, young talent. So those two teams, Chicago and then the Aces, and of course Sparks, I'm giving love to.
I know. And look, Candace leaving the Sparks, one of the biggest off-season storylines of the year. She was there for 13 seasons. Now she's with her hometown, as you say. The Sparks and Sky meet 3 times this season.
Oh, snap.
So you will see her, but there will be a little juice, right, when you get those matchups. What are your expectations for how her season's going to go?
I think it's going to be great. They're coached by an amazing coach, James Wade, and again, Diamond DeShields, a young star, Courtney Vandersloot, Allie Quigley. I mean, this is a team that has a lot of pieces, and now you're adding Candace Parker, who will provide that veteran savvy, that championship pedigree. She won a championship with my big sis in 2016. And so, yeah, this is a team to watch out for. And Candace, I mean, obviously, I'm good. You know why I'm good? It was so hard for me to play against my sister. That, like, this is my other big sis, and so I feel like I'm built for this, but it's going to be special when she returns home because she's meant so much to the community out here in Los Angeles.
I was going to say, I mean, she's meant so much to the game, to the community here in LA. You may be good. I'm still very sad. So, Candace, I just want to let you know that this is still, I understand. I'm with you. I understand. We want you to be happy, but we're just a little still not quite over it. Let's get to Sabrina Ionescu because, wow, we were so excited last year. #1 overall pick, hitting the ground running with the New York Liberty. She looked great in 3 games until suffered that grade 3 ankle sprain, cost her the rest of the season. She averaged 18 a game and 45% from the field in just that limited look we got at her. And let's take a look at some of the Liberty's notable matchups on the schedule. They open up against the Indiana Fever, then we'll see her against 2-time MVP Elena Delle Donne and the Mystics just a week later. You can catch her against Diana Taurasi, GOAT, and the Mercury on August 27th. Today, is there pressure on Sabrina now in year 2? Because it feels like we're kind of been waiting for her to blossom in the WNBA, and through no fault of her own, the wait has gotten pretty long.
Yeah, I think there is pressure, but if she knows it's all the right types of pressure, as a former #1 pick myself, there's always expectation, especially when you step to a franchise that not historically has been winning as of late. And so for Sabrina, I mean, obviously there's pressure, but they made some moves. Natasha Howard is going to be there. Manija Eleni, most improved player, is going to be there also in New York. So they've sort of surrounded her with more help than she had before. So now I feel like she's in an even better position to succeed. And we're all Team Pac-12 here, so, you know.
Yeah, it's all right. All right. Did Stanford win the tie? I can't remember.
Oh, we definitely did.
Yeah, just checking.
Not too long ago. Not too long ago.
Shanae, H-Town finest. Look, I'm sitting back. I'm enjoying the women takeover right now. You and Rachel up there handling y'all business, preaching the good gospel. I want to know what's the biggest storyline for this season in WNBA.
What's good, Perk? The biggest storyline is the amazing 144 women that continue to push boundaries, period. Not just for women's basketball, but women's sports in general, and just women. You know, we're celebrating. No, what are we doing here?
Look at this one.
Get buckets, Nay. Get buckets, get ready. But I'm really proud to be a part of the WNBA just because we're approaching our 25th season, 25th anniversary, and we're the longest, you know, women's professional sports league still in existence, and we've had a lot of support and help from the NBA. But now it seems like we're stepping into our own light, right, Perk? You better have a Sparks jersey, Perk.
Well, look, Shanae, listen, I'm all in for it. It's no need to be giving me the neck and all this here because I'm not Draymond, okay? I'm all in with you, sister.
Wow, that was just a drive-by in the middle of a sentence. That was amazing.
You're true.
Shanae, I did want to ask a little bit more about that, though, because in a weird way, the wobble, and it's a circumstance nobody, of course, wanted to be in, but between the sort of condensed attention that the wobble created and, of course, the platform for social justice and civil rights that it gave you guys, where the WNBA, and Perk is one of the first people to always say it, has been the leader in athletes moving and pushing for change. The confluence of all of that, I think, raised the W's profile even more in this last year. Have you felt that? Have you felt that more attention on you in this last year or so?
There's so much energy. And I always tell people, you know, we are not new to this. We've been true to this. And now it's nice to see that a lot of the great work that has been done in the darkness, you know, just for doing it because it's the right thing to do, are being brought to light. And it's not just for women, you know, on the court and what they're doing. It's also for being advocates in their communities. And so now we're seeing, like you said, the confluence of everything. And it's amazing. And there's so much energy. I mean, from the women's tournament, which, by the way, you know, Stanford won. But now,
who won? Okay.
But now, like, you look at the women's game overall, there's real energy and excitement. And I think it will carry over absolutely to the WNBA this season. We ready. Yeah. I'm so excited.
And it's a great point, by the way. That energy and excitement has been there, but thank y'all. More people are noticing, and you got plenty to look at this season. Sinead, thank you so much for stopping by. Physically stopping by.
Finally.
Makes me so happy. Perk, you're next. This is going to be
it's first. Hey, Rachel, it's First Street Baptist Church in here today. This is what happened when you get hot in the church.
Won't he do it? Won't he deliver?
You can check out more of Shanae on the Shanae and Golick Jr. radio show daily on ESPN. It's on right after this show, so you can just turn your dial on as soon as we sign off. Coming up, teams battle for the #1 seed in the East. His reaction to being mentioned in trade talks, why he feels he deserves to win the Defensive Player of the Year award. Yeah, you're going to want to listen to this.
For us, everybody's going to feed off what we do, so we have to set the tone.
So you guys have spent a few weeks now in a pretty intense battle for the #1 seed in the East. Wednesday's game against Brooklyn is going to go a long way to determining tiebreakers and the eventual standings. What is it like for you when the stakes are juiced like that?
You know, it makes us really fight, you know, every game. You know, every game is important for us. And whenever you can play at home, especially, you know, playing in Philadelphia, you know, we typically have a great home record. You know, so we want that #1 seed. We want to be able to, you know, play at home and, you know, have those few games to, you know, start off.
There's been some fan backlash against the amount of talent assembled in Brooklyn. When you look at that, what do you think?
There's one ball. There's one ball, and you have to play defense still. So, you know, I take pride in playing defense. I know, you know, if I'm able to get stops and you know, give guys a hard time doing their job, then, you know, we're going to be able to go further. They have a lot of talent, but at the same time, you got to play together as a team game.
You guys are no slouch in the talent department either, but you've had talent on this team for a while. What is it about the way that talent is clicking this season that has you right at the top of the Eastern Conference?
It's really coming together this year, you know, with Joe and all the addition with Dwight, Danny, Seth. Tobias has been great. And having those vets, I think, when, you know, Danny and Dwight coming in, you know, they've shared a lot of their experiences. And they really, you know, they really believe in this team. And, you know, it's coming from two guys who just won a championship and have been there. So, you know, that's a positive for us. And then also Doc coming in. You know, Doc's been great, holding everybody accountable, which is huge for this team.
You were open in training camp this year about that accountability factor being so important. What did you feel this team needed in terms of being held more accountable, and how has that happened this year?
It's about, you know, staying focused, you know, and not getting, you know, caught up in all the stuff going on around on the outside. You know, we have to stay locked in, and we have to know, you know, it's hard to win. You know, I've been there. I've been, you know, that one shot with Kawhi against the Raptors. That was tough, you know. But that was an experience where it made me think, you know, it's not easy to win, especially when it comes to playoffs.
The irony, of course, of comparing you guys to Brooklyn is that Philadelphia was the other team in the James Harden trade talks, and you know your name reportedly came up in those talks. What did you think at the time, and did anyone in the front office talk to you about it?
Yeah.